third stage of our program is monitor and sustain. And this one tends to be the shorter of our stages of work. Like often it might just be at the very end of the 6 to 12 month design and implement stage, and maybe it only takes about a month. But I would also say that it is pretty important because you and your colleagues are going to have put in a lot of work to make changes over the better part of a year. And you do want to make sure that you think about ways that kind of doesn't just go to waste. If, for example, there's staff turnover, or it's not, this isn't like the hot button issue next year, or something like that. So I'm going to just talk very briefly about what we envision as the process for monitoring and sustaining this work, as well as just share a couple of our resources. So as Michael mentioned, and I really want to reiterate, a huge aspect of this phase is celebrating successes. So helping the clinic that you've been working with say, hey, at baseline, you didn't have any patient agreements signed, and now you have 80% of your patient agreements signed. That's like a lot of work. And so just helping people see the progress that they make, you as somebody who maybe is a little bit more like outside of that clinic setting, it may be easier for you to see that. Some other things that you as a practice facilitator can do during this stage are just helping the staff that you are working with think about what are the next steps they want to do related to this work, or is it kind of like there's not necessarily next steps, but just how do you keep it in place? What do people who are in this clinic anticipate as the main challenges that they're going to be up against in terms of sustaining all of this work? Like, do they know that they have a lot of staff that turns over? Do they know that this is just like not feeling as important to people? Like what do they think is going to be the challenge? And so that way you can do some planning to address that challenge. So some of our common activities that occur during this stage are just getting the staff and the leadership to continue to have this on their radar. So maybe this is at a med staff meeting, every other med staff meeting, it's sharing some sort of update on, hey, we were doing this project, and at this point, we have managed to lower the MEDs of X percentage of our patients, just so that they can see on a consistent basis, this is still something we're thinking about. And that helps motivate others to care about this moving forward, even when the project maybe isn't as active. Another thing that can be a really important thing to do might be to designate somebody either at the broader organization or at the clinic who their job is actually to stay up to date with guidelines and regulations, because I think, as we all know, there's often changing guidelines both at a federal level and at a state level. And just to maintain compliance and best practice in terms of caring for our patients, it's just good to have somebody who it is their role to make sure they're paying attention to that. And then related to that, have kind of planned out, okay, well, when we hear about these changes that are coming down from state or federal levels, kind of what are our plans to make sure that those get incorporated into all of these documents that we've just spent a lot of time changing and to align with each other. In clinics that I have worked with, one of the things that I think is really beneficial to making sure the work is sustained is there is often staff turnover. And so making a plan for what kind of educational programs you might want to offer on an ongoing basis. That way, when you have, I guess on one of our old calls, I did hear like some of the MAs that you say like, hey, I've been in my organization for 6 years, a dozen years. So it sounds like maybe you guys don't have as much turnover. But if you are a clinic where that's happening, just thinking about what are things that we would really want somebody who is coming in new to our clinic to know about our approach to caring for patients who are on long-term opioid therapy. So that might be strategies for empathic communication, or there's so many programs out there for reducing stigma. So just having a better understanding of what does it mean for somebody to have chronic pain, that it's a disease of the brain. And so they may not have been exposed to that understanding before. So thinking about that. If your clinic is not already a clinic that is providing office-based opioid therapy, or another term being medicated treatment, seeing if it's possible for you to do some partnering to get a program like this in place. Or if it is already in place, partner with folks who are doing this so that you can really have a connection between the work that you've done and this group. Because as we know, for most patients who are prescribed opioids long-term, there's like a 15 to 20% chance that they could develop opioid use disorder. So there's overlap for sure. And I think the other thing that I've seen be really important for clinics in thinking about how to sustain this work is having somebody who really, so it sounds like for your broader organization, maybe that's Legina, or maybe this ends up being at a clinic level, but somebody who you've decided these are important performance measures for us. And so it's part of their job to kind of track on that and be the one that helps to share that with whoever it would be in like bullet one, who is coming to a med staff meeting to say, hey, this is what's going on in the project right now. So very briefly to highlight a couple of our resources, as with all of our stages of work, there is an entire workbook that it will walk you through this stage. So I totally get that we're sharing this right now, but frankly, it's going to be at least a year before your clinics are going to get to this stage. So revisit this workbook when you get there, because it's everything you're going to need. There's also a PowerPoint that kind of can be good for facilitating this discussion with clinics. A list of just the monitor and sustain activities, some of the ones that I just shared, as well as some additional ones. There's also, we shared this, I think, last time. The measuring outcomes survey was basically the survey where there was a column for baseline data and then there was a column for endline data. And so this is the survey where you can really look at to see the progress that your organization or your clinic has made. And then finally, a specific shared learning call agenda that is, hey, we're finishing out this work, kind of what's next.